Good evening, my fellow Americans. This is your President Samuel Ronan speaking, and today is Recap Thursdays. And let me tell you, there's always something to recap, isn't there? Because this country and the world cannot stop shaking the snow globe and causing problems. Whether it's Epstein, whether it's Palestine and Israel, whether it's people freaking out about Iran and China, there's always something to talk about because people just cannot get along, shockingly enough. And it is our duty here to discuss those things and figure out ways to address them so that the masses can actually, do something about it other than panic or worse, ignore it. Now, that being said, we also have some lighthearted material today because the doom and gloom does get a bit much at times. And on the few occasions where I do go off on my tangents about policy, I tend to go from viewership to viewership. So Ronan's education hour might have to wait or be specifically designated at some further time. I'm also starting to train how to talk better because if I'm going to be doing this, apparently speaking from your throat versus your stomach, which I'm still not sure how to do, allows you to do that better and for longer. So more to come. We'll see. Time is all right. So I think that's enough of an intro. Hello, Anna, and let's get to it. Laugh reacts only. Trump is diagnosed with a chronic venous insufficiency. Oh no. Thoughts and prayers. ICE is getting fed with more information, which is disturbing. More federal aid being slashed. Senate approves more slashed money. Jordan Klepper. We're going to have to read about that or listen to that because I don't know what that's all about. Adelita Grijalva wins the Arizona Democratic special primary. The guy the gal who was just a straight up influencer and was trying to win through identity politics got trounced. And that was also the person that David Hogg endorsed. So what are you doing? Some Nick Offerman. More stuff. Plane crash. Haiti, I think I just saw. So we're going to get into a bunch of stuff. Wow, there's a bunch of stuff. Holy shit. There are a bunch of videos. Possibly 59 videos today. So I think we got this. So first, let's open up with some we all get to point and laugh at the commander-in-chief because if we're not getting schadenfreude out of this, then what are we even doing? Because this piece of shit, despite even if he wasn't a billionaire, being president gives you the number one access to all healthcare ever. Organ donor, you are automatically number one on the list. Transplants, number one on the list. Transfusions, number one on the list. Medication to keep your ticking talking, you're number one on the list. You get it for free because you're the president of the United States of America. So this piece of shit just had his Congress cut Medicaid for everyone in the country, which is going to devastate our medical industry more so than it already is. And now he's diagnosed with this and we're supposed to feel any sort of sympathy for him. I honestly hope for the worst. I admit that.
Count on.
Breaking right now here at 4 o'clock, the White House says President Donald Trump is suffering from a chronic condition. The diagnosis comes after...
Hold on. I didn't do my timing very well on this. I was going to be cheeky, and right when it said the diagnosis... All right, hold on. I'm ready now. Hold on. All right.
White House says President Donald Trump is suffering from a chronic condition. The diagnosis comes after Trump underwent a medical exam for swelling in his legs and bruising on his hands.
Cheeky, right?
Brian Schrader in the WRL Live Center. What do we know about this condition, Brian?
Well, this is something that's been developing over the past few weeks, according to the White House. This is a picture from the Associated Press yesterday at a White House event. You can see where the president's ankle there clearly is swollen. Well, this is something that the White House medical staff took seriously, according to Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. And just about an hour ago, she said that they diagnosed him with a vascular condition.
Bilateral lower extremity venous.
She can't even say it. That's how fucking stupid she is. Also, I thought he was 6'3" and 215 pounds. I thought he was like the healthiest person to ever health in the Oval Office. So now he has old man problems? Interesting. And I'm definitely going to listen to her suck at this again, because fuck this entire administration. I am being I'm feeling really petty right now. I'm sorry.
Condition.
Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed
Eat shit, Carolyn. You don't even know how to say words.
chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70.
Chronic venous insufficiency. This is what's happening. Apparently, the legs.
Hold on. Wasn't expecting that to be on the thing. Because I'm going to show you all. Thanks for the cheers, Kupo. Chronic venous insufficiency. Valves malfunction allowing blood to pool. President Trump diagnosed with vascular condition. Wouldn't it be great if we had American leaders who could read big words the first time? I'm just like, you're the press secretary. Chances are, I don't expect you to be able to read like, okay, you know what? Let's Google an extremely complicated science word. One of the most complex scientific terms. Just for the sake, you know what? I don't expect her, and I'm going to have to like look over here for a second. I don't expect her to say, pneumo no ultra microscopus silicovolcanoconiosis. And there was actually a coniosis in there. I'm not making that up. I don't expect her to say that the right way the first time. I don't. I do not expect her to say this word the right way. Pneumo no ultra microscopic silicovolcanoconiosis. I mean, good luck trying to say that 5 times fast, all right? I'm not expecting her to say that. But she couldn't say chronic venous insufficiency? Seriously? Okay. Sternocleidomastoid. I mean, I can't say it confidently, but I think I said it correctly. Like, it's kind of crazy to me that, it's just crazy to me that the press secretary, who is supposed to be able to talk about any subject that is involving the White House and the Oval Office and the presidency and the administration, right? Oh, we're bombing the Ayatollah in Iran. Oh, the Israelis are committing more war crimes. And it's Ibn Yasif al-Saman Amin, right? You got to say all these complicated Middle Eastern names, Arabic words, this, that, and the other. Maybe you even have to use Russian terminology. Tchaikovsky, Golovsky, right? Whatever. In Sminsk, right? You got to say all these other languages, but then you can't even say insufficiency. Like, what was she even trying to say? I'm making fun of her, but I'm not giving her credit on what she was.
Venous bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasound.
So I think she was trying to say ventricular, and the word was venous. Do you see a T? And it's right here in the thing right there. Forgot to do my captions there. There's no T in Venus. Like, bruh. Okay. Breaking news from the White House. The President of the United States has been diagnosed with bilateral.
Diagnosed him with a vascular condition.
Bilateral lower extremity venous.
Bilateral lower extremity venous.
Were performed and reviewed.
Well, whatever the other one was. Like, you would at least think, instead of going up to the podium and being like, I'm going to give the news, you would at least practice saying the medical terms. Like, honestly, it kills me. It truly kills me. It kills me. And this isn't just like the sole example of it. I mean, listening to Trump speak is horrible. And then you have world leaders trying to make sense of it. They're looking into the camera. Now, granted, when a world leader meets with the Trump, and they are discussing, there is an actual camera. It's called the news camera that's being broadcast to the fucking world. And there were how many world leaders who were engaging with Trump that were looking at him like this, and then looked into the camera like this, and then looked at him again. I'm just saying, we clearly do not have the best and the brightest in office. And if nothing else, as president, I solemnly swear, I promise you, on this flag, I promise you that if I am not the smartest person in the room, that's a good thing. That is a good thing, because that means I made sure to fill my cabinet and every advisor that I have in a position that they are eminently qualified to be in and know infinitely more about than I do. That is a good thing. My job as president is to have good ideas. Sure, absolutely. My vision for the future is 100% necessary. Trains, education, healthcare, accountability, abolish ICE, throw Israel to the Hague, throw ICE to the Hague, eliminate capitalism, right? All great ideas, but it's going to require a certain amount of je ne sais quoi and people who know how to accomplish those things, right? Like, we're going to need some Comeys. We're going to need some, well, I think the daughter was also Comey, right? So, like, we're going to need some elite motherfuckers to do the prosecutions. We're going to need some engineers to design the trains. We might have to have negotiators to go to China and be like, hey, that guy was a douchebag, and we get that. And we're sorry about that. We're sending him to the Hague. Okay, we're taking care of that problem. Can we engage in some honest trade? Because my president, this guy, Samuel Ronan, 48th president, he just wants trains. That's all he wants. And he's willing to work with you on that. I mean, yeah, okay, fine, foreign policy, stop trying to, annex Taiwan and Thailand and all that shit. But, like, in terms of trade, we can be trade partners and then discuss diplomacy. Like, we can separate the two, right? It's just, My point is, I don't have to know how to cure cancer, but I should know how to fund it. And I should know how to find the doctors, or find somebody who can find the doctors, or tell me what kind of funding they need so that they conduct the research to cure the cancer, right? Like, that's my job. My job is to have good ideas, facilitate good ideas, and then finance those good ideas. Now, in a perfect world, I'd also have a Congress and a Supreme Court that would support me. Now, when I say support, I mean in the traditional sense, like, they collaborate. They're like, okay, this is the administration's goals. This is our goals and interpretation of it. Let's see if we can come to some sort of agreement. Not this horse shit that we've been dealing with for the past, as long as I've been alive, which is nothing but bipartisan infighting. It's like, it's either our way or no way, right? Whoever has the majority leads. And that's a problem, right? That's an absolute fucking problem. But that goes into accountability. Now, a complicit administration would be scary, right? Because that's what we're facing with right now. But it does have its merits in the sense that, well, if everybody's on the same page, then shit gets done that way. The problem is when that page is fascism. So, there have been a lot of precedents set by this administration, and a lot of crimes being committed by this administration and all members of Congress and the Senate who continue to vote to aid and abet genocide. So, there's going to be some interesting growing pains in my first 100 days in the administration, but we will have trains. We will finally have some fucking trains, or at least the start of the trains. I've said trains 5 times and nobody's redeemed the trains. You're tripping. Thank you, Sam. Great guy. Love that man. Give that man a moderator position. He's outstanding. All right. So moving back along to making fun of and enjoying the frustrating or the suffering of the president. Oh, I'm cooking. I'm taking care of my child and myself like a responsible adult.
Changes to medication and an advanced serious case of surgery In itself, it's not a serious condition, and the White House says they did a battery of tests and indicated there are no systemic illnesses causing those swollen ankles and this condition. And it is common. About 150,000 people are diagnosed every year in this country. About the bruising on the hands, another thing that reporters have noticed, you can see makeup covering the president's hand yesterday. According to Caroline Levitt, that is a result of frequent handshaking. Now, WRL's Grace Haba is going in depth on this condition. She'll have more coming up on our news at 5 o'clock.
Well, you know, he's got plenty of...
We should call it the Schadenfreude hour. All right. So there's that. Funny. Not so funny.
Holy cow, folks. ICE officials are going to be granted access to personal health information that includes addresses and ethnicity to 79 million Americans who are enrolled under Medicaid as a way to try to track down illegal immigrants in the United States.
Now, I'm going to pause it right here on purpose. For one, this guy is clearly not a journalist or an anchor. However, what he is saying is true. It is being corroborated by the mainstream networks. And that's kind of the rub, right? We can't trust journalism, but we also kind of have to trust journalism. If the mainstream media is talking about it, then chances are there is veracity to it, because otherwise they wouldn't talk about it at all, such as the genocide in Palestine, right? That being said, I just want to be clear, like, this isn't some guy with a weird mop on his head talking about some potential scary conspiracy. This is legitimate. And Doge was the one who stole all of the Social Security, all of the Medicaid, all of the fucking information of the American people when he was in Doge. And now it's being circulated through to ICE. We called that. We said that immediately. We said that this administration is just going to continue to feed more and more information to ICE. Maybe I didn't say it. Maybe I thought I said it. Doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, this is the natural next step. If you build a secret police, you're going to feed the secret police. And when you can't feed it the undesirables, then you start feeding it citizens so that you can start searching for dissenters. And that is the stage of fascism that we're in. That's literally step 9.5 in the consolidation of power that Hitler's Germany, utilized when they took over Germany. Now, that being said, and I believe he'll mention this, especially if he's a doctor, he should know, illegals can't be and or receive Medicaid because they're illegal. They don't have documents. By definition, they cannot receive this. Now, that isn't to say that they can't receive medical care. They can obviously go to a hospital. Hospitals are funded by Medicaid. That might be one way their information gets tracked. But to truly say that Medicaid recipients would be illegals and therefore on this list is fucking possible. And the fact that they're doing it is telling you that they are sharing your data, citizens' data, innocent civilians. I mean, I haven't committed any crime, so I'm innocent. Ha ha! My point here is, folks, that this, among many, many, many other things, is a red flag major 5-level alarm. This is an air raid siren, okay? And the fact that this is just getting glossed over and not being really reported the way it needs to be on any channel, maybe this guy's channel, hopefully he has several million viewers, but this information is literally an existential threat to democracy and freedom, and of course to privacy. So, let's see what he says.
This information is according to the Associated Press, and it's still an ongoing issue that not all the details have been publicly announced yet, but this is rather concerning and likely violates our privacy protection laws under HIPAA, because this is personal health information that is being used for non-health reasons. Therefore, it is a privacy violation, and it's already being challenged by 20 states in this country legally.
Wow.
The information that they may be able to get access to includes names, addresses, birth dates, ethnic and racial information, as well as social security numbers of people who are enrolled on Medicaid. This agreement will allow these agents to access the data, but they can't download it, and they can only look at the data apparently from 9 to 5 up until September 9th.
Okay. They can't download it. They can only look at it from 9 to 5 until some arbitrary date. I'm sorry. What fucking century are we in? They're already not following OPSEC. They're already not following InfoSec. You think they're not allowed to download it. Like, they're not going to just fucking download it anyway. They have been violating people's due process from day fucking one. Granted, and I mean from the day they were established, over a decade ago, they've been violating people's due process. They've just been loud about it recently. So yeah, this is deeply fucking concerning. Deeply fucking concerning.
Keep in mind that undocumented immigrants cannot get access to Medicaid because they do not have Social Security numbers,
right.
but they do have
yeah.
access to emergency Medicaid. If this actually goes into effect, this is going to affect everybody because our medical privacy is being violated. So please make sure that you're talking with your lawmakers about this because this should not go through.
As I said, as we all have been saying,
All right,
as we all absolutely agree. Exactly. Now do you see why I've been saying that there's a very real likelihood that we don't even have elections? Or that if we do have elections, miraculously only Republicans will win? What's more is they are already beginning to rewrite districts. Gerrymandering has already begun in my state. I think I read at least 8 other states. And they're talking about gaining 13 seats, probably more than that, just from the gerrymandering alone. So, no, election tampering, election rigging, straight up rewriting districts to pad their numbers. So when I say that I might have to run as a Republican, it's not because I agree with any of this shit. It's not that I like any of this shit. It's I may not have a choice but to run as a Republican. Now, I could still accomplish that goal. I would just have to use slightly different language. Instead of universal health care, we call it America Care. Patriotism care. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Honestly, universal health care is not a negative word anymore, but using words like socialism and communism still makes, people clutch their pearls and think, it's un-American, But, all that to say, there's a real possibility that if you're a leftist or a progressive or anything left on the Overton window, you might have to run as a Republican and you're going to have to get over that shit. You're going to have to really dig deep. And if you're an organization like the DSA or, I don't know, what other organizations are there anymore? Real progressives, brand new Congress, new 535, I think. What's another one? The Green Party. Green Party doesn't even have ballot access in many, many states. So, and honestly, they think that they can run in Democratic primaries. They're fucking wrong. So, run for something, which might just be a fucking social media platform at this point. What was the one that Bernie Sanders did after his 2016 run? Our Revolution? Our Revolution, yeah. Or whatever the fuck David Hogg is doing, right? You can't rely on running as a Democrat because they might very well rig the elections. That's why the Tea Party primaried everyone. Every chance they got. And of course, party insiders were like, you can't do that. That's wrong. Don't do that. And they're like, well, fuck you, because we don't believe in what you're doing. We believe in what we're doing. So we're going to have to grow the fuck up. If we want a revolution, and I truly mean a revolution, we can obviously do the revolution part of things, right? We can do the... Right? We can do the revolution, right? Why does this look like a chef hat on me? I didn't plan this out very well, did I? I thought this sat on my head better. I wore this before and I did not look like an idiot. I kind of look like I'm wearing a chef's hat. Maybe it just looks different when I have long hair. Berets don't suit me when I have short. That didn't work out at all. Anyway. You get the idea. We can do all the fun stuff, but we also need political revolution. We also need local revolution. We need activism. We need economic revolution. We need social revolution. We need it all over the place, right? So get over yourselves, DSA. Get over yourselves, Green Party. If you truly want to make a difference, primary every motherfucker. Every motherfucker. Every motherfucker. Primary the Republicans, the Democrats, the fucking Libertarians. Do not leave a single race uncontested. Again, $80 and 50 signatures to run in a major party in most states. Like, if you don't have $80, I will wire it to you, or I'll PayPal it to you. And in a couple months, I should be able to actually do that if there's enough of you. My point is, there are 535 people in Congress, 435 congressmen, 100 senators. A third of the senators come up every 2 years. So that's 33 races right there. There's a third of the governors that come up every 2 years. And then every single of the 435 Congress people come up every 2 years. So what's 435 times 80? $34,800. That's all we should have to fundraise. Well, actually, no, that's not entirely true. Times 2, because we went on a primary. So we need $69,600 to primary everyone in both the Republican and the Democratic primaries. $69,000. You're telling me we, the people of these United States, can't collectively fundraise $69,600 to primary every single piece of shit congressperson in Congress right now? Well, I guess I didn't add the Senate, but you get where I'm going with this. Like, it's an extremely paltry sum of money to get everybody on the ballot so that they can primary these fuckers. This isn't rocket science, folks. So what did I say? 34? So 435 plus 34 would be 68, right? 469. Hey, 469. Hey. Times 80 times 2. $75,000 or $75,040, right? That's about the average salary in maintenance working overtime, right? I'm not telling you to give up your whole paycheck for this. I'm saying all of us collective workers, there's got to be 75,000 of us that could give at least a fucking dollar, right? And we could primary every single member of the House of Representatives and the United States Senate that is up for election this coming cycle. That's it. Well, okay, Senate might cost a little bit more. I'm kind of missing my point by being in the weeds on myself and fact-checking myself in real time here. But here's the point. For the low price of probably an expensive car or a shitty house in this economy, we could primary everybody that is up for election in the Congress. Now, obviously, once you start expanding to the other election cycles, yeah, sure, fine. We're talking millions of dollars. But we have 270 eligible voters, 270 million eligible voters every single voting cycle. $270 million could get us every single election, primarying every single election, and making sure that nobody is running uncontested. Easily. And that's not funny, like none of the ads, none of the pamphlets. That's just getting your name on the ballot. We could do that easily. And if we all pulled our resources together, say $270 million, and all collectively agreed to just vote for whoever is not the incumbent, we could change our government structure overnight, literally, not figuratively, not a hyperbole. People say electoralism is dead. It's not. We, the people, are complacent, lazy motherfuckers who think, oh, well, my vote doesn't matter. You're right. It doesn't. As an individual, it does not matter. Low voter turnout is why these pieces of shit continue to win. And because we aren't collectively pooling our own resources, we're not challenging them enough and threatening them enough to feel insecure in their position. So our laziness and complacency is why we have a shitty government. And if you want that to change, buck up, buttercup. Okay? For the boys, sack up, motherfucker. For the girls, what do you guys call it? Snatch up? Ovary up? I don't know. How many ladies do we have in this channel? Whatever it is, pull up your girl pants, right? Put on your good butt jeans and fucking get out there. And for you transgender folk or non-binary, whatever motivates you motherfuckers, okay? Pizza, beer, titties, I don't care. Do it up and fucking let's go. Like, we cannot keep wasting time arguing about, well, my purity politics versus your purity politics. Bitch, we all largely agree on the same quintessential issues: healthcare, education, housing, fair wages. Those 4 things we all collectively agree upon. Fuck off about the nuance for 5 seconds, because they don't care. While we're busy arguing about semantics, they're killing us. They're gutting Medicaid. They are terrorizing Latinos. They are murdering Palestinians. Shut the fuck up, you dumb motherfuckers, and work together. For fuck's sake, work together. Well, I care about the trees, so unless you care, fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck your trees and the whales and everything else, because if you're not going to help us, the individual who cares about the whales, the trees, and the air, then fuck your little ideology thing, because you're an island unto yourself and you are causing harm by being fragmented. Because guess what? You want to know how you save the trees? By saving the whales, by making sure air is clean, by making sure people aren't polluting so that businesses are fucking regulated. And you know how you can further that? By ensuring that wages are secure and that people have the ability to choose to buy fresh, clean, green produce and products. By facilitating the economy to be green and regenerative, you accomplish all of your fucking goals. So quit arguing with me. Well, you don't care enough about the whales for me, so I'm not going to support you. Fuck you. Okay? Welcome to my TED Talk. Wow. I am a little feisty today, and I haven't had any alcohol or caffeine, so don't ask me what's all that about. Primary every motherfucker. I'm adding that to our hashtags. I mean, this is the time of watching tragedy happen from our phone in Israel and in America. Exactly. Like, if you give a shit about any one of these major global issues, you are an ally of the other person who gives a shit about some other global issue. Just because it's not the exact same fucking minutia doesn't mean you're not allies. God, the left pisses me off. I don't know a lot about history, but of what I've seen in the past, things that are happening right now would cause a revolution, and have historically. These hoes got me. Someone tried to steal my car and failed, but they broke my back window and steering wheel. Jesus Christ, True Steel, you all right? Fuck. I hope you had insurance and a camera and a Glock, if you know what I mean. Not enough. Yeah, I agree, Terratron. It's not enough. Be like Francesca. Yes. I think I'm going to have to do a Francesca redeemable too. Anna, send me a reminder to make a Francesca alert. Motherfuckers will argue about who gets the better shoes while being in a burning house. Exactly. Do you think the conservatives give a damn that some of these people that they've elected don't care about illegals, but they do care about harming black people, or that they do care about draining the swamp or some other nonsense? Like, they're all lockstep. Well, I just care about this, that, and the other. I don't give a shit about any of that other stuff. That's immoral. They are in lockstep. And we can argue all day long. Well, that's because they're less intelligent than we are. They don't understand nuance or critical thinking, which is why they're easily manipulated and why they choose to follow cult leaders instead of making their decisions with their big brain like we, on the left, do all the time. Great. You won. You win. You are a pedantic piece of shit. You got on your soapbox and you fucking dropped that mic and told every single one of these people, half of the country, that they're dumb motherfuckers and that they should feel bad. Now, how's that working out for you? Are you getting votes? Are you getting support? Are you making any inroads? Are you communicating? Well, I shouldn't have to. They should understand by my logic and my superiority that we are better and that they should support me. Again, congratulations on being correct. Congratulations on knowing all there is to know about politics and the minutia thereof, and having correct opinions on every social and political policy that there is. to include foreign policy. You have done no wrong. You can do no wrong. You are perfect. Why are you losing elections then? Why can't we organize then? Why aren't you, in your perfection, capable of galvanizing the masses and getting them to understand how perfect and correct you are? Okay? It seems to me that there's a common denominator. Arrogance, ego, the need to be correct. And I'm autistic and a white man in America, okay? My need to be correct is pretty audacious. I happen to be correct a lot. And you know what it's gotten me? Fired. Damn near homeless a few times. In a altercation with law enforcement. It hasn't gotten me a seat, has it? Now, granted, I'm obviously a little bit more self-aware than what I just described. I do reach out to people. I do try and reach them in the places that they are and try and address their concerns. Every time I would knock on a door, I'd say, hi, my name is, I'm running for Congress. Like, well, what party are you? And I'd be like, well, thankfully, in this state, I am a Republican. And they're like, oh, cool, I'll listen to you. Then it's like, well, what are your issues? What are your primary concerns? They're like, well, abortion. Okay, well, I do happen to be pro-choice because I think that's about body autonomy. And I think freedom and rights, if you can't choose what to do with your own body. Well, that's not how that works. Agree to disagree. You're a Christian and that's what you believe. I'm a Catholic and I believe otherwise. Well, isn't that the same thing? Actually, it's a little different, but that's fine. We can have that discussion some other time. What other issues do you have? Well, I don't like them illegals. It's like, oh, that's fine. Well, you know, we could just improve the process to making them legal, giving them citizenship, giving them some sort of work visa, time served in the workforce towards getting their actual status. How would you feel about that? Well, as long as they're legal, I don't mind. Bam. You made an inroad. And you're still right on the issue, which is don't terrorize fucking Latino people. Or anybody, for that matter, for not having papers, right? Because when the Nazis ask you, zeig mir deine Papieren, yeah, that's 1936, 1939, and 1942 all over again, and we don't do that shit, right? But if you reach people at their level, chances are they will reason with you. They will listen to that. Now, is that true for everybody? No, I got the door slammed on my face quite a bit. But you know who I had the worst relationships with? It wasn't the conservative voter in fucking Warren County, Ohio. The most conservative county in Ohio. And one of the most conservative counties out of 3,710 in the United States of America. It was like number 27 out of 3,710. Okay? I actually gained more support from those conservatives than left-leaning people. And you want to know why? It's because, well, actually, if you're going to do high-speed rail, you should focus on connecting the major cities, but then also making sure that the airlines have subsidies. Okay. I don't really care how we do high-speed rail. My idea is to make it go across the various latitudes, you know, and then across the various parallels so that we can have hubs every 500 miles. Just think that makes a lot of sense. And then every 500 miles, you have a 250 radius where trucks can travel or lighter trains can travel. It just makes everything more efficient. But your idea, whatever, I don't care. Obviously, we want to connect the major cities. Thank you for the train this time. But they would not support me because, well, you don't agree with my plan, therefore I won't support your plan. No. And I'm like, bro, we want the same thing. I'm sorry. Oh, here you go, little buddy. Oh, here you. Oh, you're a real smart boy. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're a smart little boy, aren't you, little fella? I'm so proud of you. You used your big brain and came up with a really good idea. Yes, you did. Is that what you want from me? Because if that's what we're doing, fuck the left. Because that's literally what I have experienced in the fucking decade that I have left active duty military to pursue politics because Ted motherfucking Cruz decided to shut down our fucking government to prevent poor people from having access to healthcare. I'm sorry, I have a fucking mission and I don't have time to waste with your fucking insecurities. Okay? So if the left isn't going to work with me, with us collectively to make this country sane, and to stop the fascism, then fuck you. You will continue to be irrelevant, just like the Democrats are irrelevant. And that's the problem. We can't even rely on the lefts or the Democrats because they're too busy yelling at everybody that they're right and better than us. Nobody wants to hear that, and I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with everything you want. Clean energy, decentralized government, no political parties, get rid of capitalism, guillotine the rich. I agree with you on all of it. But you won't work together, so you are fucking useless. And until you realize that we are only strong, not in our ideas and our ideology, which will stand the test of time on its own, if you die clutching your fucking soapbox, you're still dead. But if you and 11.5 million other people with their soapbox march on each of their capitals, run for office, support one another running for office and marching on these capitals, guess fucking what? That is the 3% rule of what is required to sustain a populist effort that will result in regime change. So get over yourselves. For the love of God, please. Leah came to the room. She said, Sam is crashing out. Maybe I am, Leah. Maybe I am. As a leftist, I felt that you were a bit hyperbolic there, so I will not associate with you in any way. And a veteran, you would not be alive if you were black. No, that is true. There is no way on God's green earth I would have survived if I was a black man. One, I did have a, I guess, violent altercation with a police officer, and black cops kill black men just as easily as white cops kill black men. So no, there's no, and plus, as outspoken as I am, no, not a chance in hell would I be alive from that incident alone. Spiritu Sancti ad Dominum 2018, I would have been Dunskies. But that isn't to say that going to the DNC convention wouldn't have got either. And then, yeah, Terratron, I can confirm I've witnessed the way you handle property managers. Yeah, I don't hold back against anyone for any reason because fuck them. Leftists need to stop being elitist. That's the problem. That is 100% the problem. I don't know who Mark Root is. Not by, like, off the top of my head. That doesn't ring a bell. They're also obsessed with theory and reading Marx. But there's no need for everyone to read all of that. Honestly, I have to this day never once read Marx and Engels. And everybody that talks to me about my ideas, like, wow, you must have really understood Marx and Engels. I'm like, I've never once read them. I'm just not an idiot. I can see that managing a country means to provide for its people. And if you do the opposite of that, you end up with fascism and a failed state, which will eventually collapse into chaos and then be gobbled up by other powers that didn't do that shit. Honestly, Marx and Engels and etc. et alia are just common sense approaches to governance. And it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. If anybody on this earth can just look on a piece of paper and be like, people have enough to live and thrive or not. Which of these is going to work over the long term? Oh, clearly giving people stuff. All right, cool. What stuff do people need? Food, shelter, clothing, water, utilities. Shelter, I already said, right? And then transportation. Education, medicine, and then luxuries for entertainment. Something to get your passions out there. Seems pretty fucking reasonable. Oh, and what does the preamble say? In the pursuit of life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness. Life, healthcare, education. Liberty, definitely education, but also the material stuff, which goes back into property, which would be housing and like your toothbrush, right? Not that communist toothbrush. And then pursuit of happiness, i.e., once again, education or just exploring the world around you. It's in our fucking preamble. This isn't rocket science. Reading books should not separate you from other leftists in the battle against fascism. Correct. I'm still not working with Maoists. There we go. And then the Maoists are like, well, I'm not working with them Marxists. And now we are back to the infighting. But Mao was based when it came to landlords. Yeah, I mean, I may or may not have written those words in slightly less gruesome context on the campaign page. As a student of Gramsci, I refuse to talk to Maoist. We could have a reading group about Gramsci. I'm sure we could. I will not be participating. A fanonist? What in the fuck is y'all are just messing with me now, because I've never heard of Gramsci, nor have I ever heard of fanonist, and I think Anna made that up. I guarantee she made that up just to mess with me. So, anyway, speaking of the soapbox, I kind of went on one, didn't I? Wait, fanonist is a real fucking thing? No, that's bullshit. Fanonist. Fanonism refers to the body of thought and political ideas developed by Frantz Fanon, a Martinique-born psychiatrist, philosopher, and revolutionary. Are you fucking kidding me? And he's a black man. A French West Indian psychiatrist. Wow. And you knew about him too. Okay. These book readers are trying to fool me, man. They are. And they succeeded. I had to Google that. I'm not a real leftist. I'm just a fucking poser trying to get likes and follows on that there social media like thing. I guess I'll just stop at that book learning and start reading some of that there booking so that I can start talking smart like. Well, evidently I came to the same conclusions as Franz and Gramsci, and yeah, I you know what? I don't blame you, because clearly I am not elitist enough. I'm not well read enough to be part of the revolution, evidently. That's wild. I seriously, now I kid you not, I thought you were trolling me. I have never heard of that man's name.
We'll help people customize and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual.
I'm gonna actually use that as a gotcha now. So like next time somebody's like, oh, you need to read Marx. I'm like, yeah, well, you need to read Fanon. And they're going to be like, what? That's right, Fanon and Gramsci. You're not a real leftist unless you know who those two people are. Because if I haven't heard of them and nobody's mentioned them prior to like literally today, then I doubt they are well known.
The House will soon take up the package of spending cuts narrowly approved by the Senate. The cuts would slash the previously approved funding for foreign aid, as well as NPR and PBS. Natalie Brand,
fucking nerds on my channel just out-nerded me on my channel.
Overnight,
in the content of my channel, no less.
To slash around $9 billion worth of previous.
I am a leftist political... Well, one, I'm a candidate. I am a candidate. I'm not just a content creator. But... you out-lefted me on my own left book channel. Like, that's... wow. Rude.
Approved funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. Republicans Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins joined with Democrats to oppose...
Was that lady wearing a fucking blanket?
Around $9 billion worth of previously approved funding for foreign aid and public broadcasting. Republicans Lisa...
This lady... is not wearing a blanket. She is wearing a whole fucking carpet. And look at the evil on her face. She's like, I'm about to take away stuff from poor people. I have never heard of them in the past 10 years. If they were popular, I would have known.
Murkowski and Susan Collins joined with Democrats to oppose the measure, sounding the alarm over the impact.
Why are there children on the Congress
radio
floor?
And TV stations.
For many families, public television is one of their only early childhood education tools. We shouldn't be pulling the rug out of these children.
The overwhelming majority of CPB's funding flows to NPR and PBS. Entities that have drifted far from their original mission.
They do talk about that, don't they?
Megaphones for partisan left-wing activism.
The measure now has to go back to the House for a final vote before the Friday deadline.
Republican lawmakers are also weighing in after President Trump raised the idea of firing Fed Chair Jerome Powell, which he now says he is unlikely to do.
If you fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve, you will see the stock market crash.
President Trump confirmed CBS News reporting
that hasn't stopped him from crashing the fucking stock market or the economy every fucking month since he's been fucking elected.
He asked a group of House Republicans for their opinion on the matter, as he's been hammering Powell for months to lower interest rates.
I asked, what would you do about that? They all said would fire him.
Are you completely ruling out the idea of firing Jerome Powell?
I don't rule out anything, but I think it's highly unlikely unless he has to leave for fraud.
The administration has accused Powell of mismanaging a $2.5 billion renovation at the Fed's headquarters. Federal law says the chair can only be fired for cause. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
That started from over here talking about the budget and NPR and PBS, and all the way over here to you can only fire the Federal Reserve Chair for cause by law. And he's going to try and do it anyway.
Congress is now one step.
Wow. Gramsci should be popular. Okay, so you're saying Gramsci and Fannin should be popular because of their work. Well, I will add them to my political, list of familiar subjects and stuff, but what I'm telling you is I have never heard of them. And I thought I was pretty well versed in leftist theory and ideology based on having it beaten and pelted at me from an elitist, condescending point of view. My apologies. Sorry you're not a real politician if you don't even know Trump's political advisor, Stephen Chung. Yeah, I guess not. Fannin is an anti-colonial writer. He should be thrown around in pro-Palestinian circles. He absolutely should be. He should. I mean, but that's part of the problem too, right? Like, a lot of these people are great leaders, great voices, have had major impacts in history and then have been erased because of their writings. So what I would raise, and Anna, maybe you can send me a reminder to do this as well, add a policy, which I thought I did, but let's just make it an official policy, or to make double check, that we will restore all of the erased revolutionaries, leftists, and thinkers of the past from America and globally, restore their honor and status within American history, and actually have them be eligible to be taught or recognized in some way. There's got to be something along those lines that we can certainly do, even if it's a memorial or a monument of some sort to leftism and ideology or something like that. You just assumed they were popular, and I bet that's what a lot of leftists think too. Well, you're an elitist and a snob. That's why we get along so great, True Steel. Bro, I do not need to read stuff to know that this shit is bad. And that's my point. Like, again, the left, all they have to do right now is like, hey, shit's pretty bad, isn't it? And people are like, yeah, it is bad. It's like, you know what would be better? What? If we didn't do this shit. Yeah, what do you want? What should we do? It's like, well, we could start by cleaning the park. No, I ain't doing that queer shit. Okay. Well, what about registering to vote and making sure that these people never get into office again? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, what do you want me to do? I just sign here? Yeah. And maybe you can help us talk to your friends, family, and neighbors. Here's the forms. Yeah, I'm going to tell them that we don't want to vote for this shit anymore. Yeah, let's go. The GOTV movement could be so massive right now. But what's the left doing? Do you agree with our entire 50-page dissertation on how to deal with daffodils, in addition to the rest of our 8 billion-page constitution of how we will make the world a better place because we're the only ones that can? And if you do not agree with any of these things, or not every single last one of them, then you're no longer going to work with us. And I swear to God, every leftist organization is like that. It's annoying. That hat. All right. This is what kills me, though. I actually looked good in that hat when I had long hair. And I think I used it as a profile picture, so I need to find it real quick. No, it's the long hair. It's definitely the long hair. Because when it's just like this, it looks like a chef hat. But when you have hair down it, you look like Che Guevara. That's why I have a white boy haircut right now instead of Che Guevara. All right. Actually, you know what I could do? Not that I have a wig or anything, but... Honestly, that kind of fucks. That actually kind of fucks a little bit. That actually works a little. That actually kind of works. So it's the hair or the accoutrement. Now, oh, no, if that won't work well, will it? We'll do all the power. All of the power moves. Liberté! Now put on the carpet blanket. I don't actually have one. But all of that to say, let's go on with the, oh no, we just talked about that bill. Let's talk about the Epstein list, because apparently Trump is denying that exists, and it is costing. Okay. I really like, though, her expression. She's like, really, dude? You're going to make it that much harder for me now? You're just going to say that it was the Democrats that made it all up? Really? I think she's regretting her position now. I think she is. I don't think she's like, this is not worth it. This is the comedy, The Daily Show. But honestly, that's the argument. That is the actual argument that they are fucking making. That the Democrats did this, he got elected twice, and that they didn't use it against him either of those times. And that this is the hoax and the conspiracy and this, that, and the other. Even though he campaigned on it. Literally campaigned on it. And said, I will release the files because there are some bad people on it. And then, he doesn't. And Musk says he's on it. And then AOC says, well, shock, that's what a rapist does. And then he gets pissed. He's like, I'm going to sue AOC. And then, literally, his lawyers are like, buddy, if you do that, she gets to see the files you say don't exist during the discovery process. I don't know what to tell you. How would you cover up the Epstein files if I were evil? I would destroy them outright. It wouldn't be a cover-up. I would destroy them. Like, if you're that worried about evidence, you destroy it. And if there's leaks of the data that was made copies of, then you claim those are hoaxes. Well, because those are copies. And those could have been edited, and those could have been X, Y, and Z. Like, again, that's why if these files exist, it's because, and they're still intact, it's because they are still trying to leverage it against one another. Or Israel, which is the holder of it, is not going to let them go because of the, blackmail thing. That's a good one, Anna. That's a good one. Charlie Kirk, the same guy who said, don't trust the fucking government. I'm going to trust the government. And this is the part that kills me. I'm not saying The Daily Show isn't a credible news source, because unfortunately it is. They do their due diligence because in order to be a satire, they have to be correct in the things they're making fun of. Otherwise, it could be treated as slander or a conspiracy or some other nonsense, right? Which is exactly why Fox News had a $700 million lawsuit against them for peddling fake stories, all right? So, The Daily Show is comedy, but is also giving the real news. That's disturbing, for one, but for two, this is what journalists need to be fucking doing. This right here is what journalists need to be doing, but without trying to make, laughs and what do you fucking call the hook? No. The punchline? The punchline. The journalists need to be doing this shit, but without trying to get a punchline in there. And honestly, it's insane to me that you get better news information from comedy than you do the actual news. Remember about 10 minutes ago when I was crashing the fuck out about primarying every motherfucker? What also makes me feel bad and give me a headache is that Lauren Boebert got elected to Congress and I didn't. So I was campaigning worse than Lauren Boebert somehow. That makes me feel a certain way. But if she can win, I mean, surely somebody like us in chat, me, people that are watching, surely regular people can get elected because surely we cannot be worse than Lauren fucking Boebert or whoever the fuck this guy, Representative Hank Johnson. We cannot be worse and more out of touch than this guy. And we don't talk about the DSA meeting, Anna. We do not talk about that. Part apolitical is that is not a skit. That was actually him thinking he was getting one over on Republicans. Because that's what the Democrats do. They do the kente cloth and then they do the fist in the air to stand with or to kneel with. I don't even remember how they phrased it, but it was the Black Lives Matter thing. And they thought the kente cloth and the fist in the air would do it. And then what? They started writing strongly worded letters to ICE to say, stop doing that. It's not nice. No.
Trying to wrap their heads around.
Does Epstein have the absolute most comical Joker smile? Like his lips go further back than they should. He has a comically evil, like a comic book evil smile. That's insane. In hell, I hope she gets the A+, just tippy top treatment in hell. I hope she gets all of the attention in hell. Every last... And the problem is, though, if hell is meant to torture people, she might end up running hell, which means Reagan and her are going to be fighting for the leadership position in hell. So, I wish her the best. May the worst piece of garbage suffer the most.
Right response.
Up the actual credible evidence and testimony from his victims from during the original prosecution against him. There were multiple women who came up and said, yes, he assaulted me while I was a teenager on Epstein Island. I'm actually shocked you didn't bring that up. I was waiting. The worst part is that is also how it is being actually portrayed in the fucking media. The real media is saying shit like this. Well, Donald Trump had all these connections, and it was clear because of his business acumen that he was trying to keep certain people on the down low, but close at hand in case they, ever wronged him, he could blackmail them into doing the thing that he wanted him to do. And I'm like, what? Which brings me to one of my favorite dystopian novels that I had to read in school, which is 1984. And honestly, it kills me because that book is literally the play-by-play book of this administration. Change the rules, change history, lie, dissociate, and then tell your followers to not trust their own eyes or their own ears for the sake of the party. In-fucking-sane. All right, I am out of water, and I've been eating lots of salty pretzels. So, let's do a quick break so I can get more water, and we'll go to... What's next? Adelita Grijalva. We'll do her story next. All right, so anyway. Is that working? Are you kidding me? Technical difficulties. Stream. Water back, and we are ready to carry on with the recap because Christ, that's a lot. You need to work on that playlist? Oh, I'm sorry. If you don't like dubstep and electronica music, you're in the wrong fucking stream, girlfriend. Because we do it like this. I'm gonna make dubstep the national music genre. How about them apples? Fuck country. We're going straight up.
Arizona voters have chosen Adelita Grijalva as the Democratic nominee for their special election to fill the state's 7th congressional district. In September, she will take on.
Damn. Okay. Wow. If I just lost the women's vote, I can't do that. But that's all they have is ambient house, chill step. Techno, like that. All of the DMCA safe are electronic music. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, if you don't like it, then you're gonna have to make me a list of no copyright straight because electronic music is great. It's upbeat. It's energetic. It's energizing.
On the Republican nominee, Daniel Gutierrez, for the seat left empty by her late father, Congressman Raul Grijalva. CBS News political director Finn Gomez has been watching all of this. Finn, it was just yesterday I said, don't let it be too long.
That's right. Nobody listens to that other crap music like pop, hip-hop, country, bluegrass. We only listen to the...
before I see you again. And here we are the next morning. Great to see you. You know, what's interesting in this race, as we've discussed, is the Gen Z candidate actually lost. That's Deja Fox. People were comparing her to the run of that of Zoran Mamdani's mayoral campaign here in New York, in which he did capture.
Here's the thing. The music I actually listen to is drum and bass. And, like, well, if I did Pandora, I would get copyright struck. I guess you can play it for a few seconds without getting the strike.
Hey there. It looks like you've got your
But
ad blocker on.
Battle
Ads
Beast.
help us keep Pandora free and prevent any
What the
playback
fuck?
issues
I
with
said
your
pause.
music.
Don't do the
Tap
ad, you
now
fucking
to
piece of
disable
shit.
ad blocker and keep things running smoothly.
Wow. Shut up. Talking over me while I hit pause and mute on the damn thing. Anyway, Battle Beast Radio, drum and bass, Delane Radio. What else do I got on here? Exit Eden, Cascada, Plum, Sirens of the Sea, Swedish House Mafia. Yeah, actually, I do have a lot of electronic on here. Synth pop, liquid soul, industrial metal. So, okay, I'm more of a electronic music. But yes, I do like hard rock. And I listen to anime music, and it's all fucking baller. Okay?
The Democratic nomination. So what's the bigger picture here for Democrats?
Yeah, Errol, it's good to see you this morning. It's also, can I just say you always have the freshest fit of anybody
And you
on
too,
morning
Finn.
news. No, look, a top progressive told me that that Deja Fox's loss likely does not halt the momentum the Gen Z-led campaigns and progressive campaigns have been.
Were you just hit with an ADD because of, yes, I was.
Showing that while immediate victories might not always happen, the generational energy is there to stay.
I think he was
Progressive
flirting with the guy.
Pushing for generational change point to Mamdani's win in that New York mayoral primary as evidence they can upset establishment picks. Mamdani, incidentally, will be in Washington.
Yeah, remember how I said that the Gen Z upstart was just trying to be a diversity pick or whatever? Like, fine, she's brown in one of the most horrific times in American history, but people don't give a shit. What are your ideas? People want you to actually be able to stand up and do something, not just talk about stuff.
Today, he is holding an event with Congresswoman and National Progressive Leader Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. And by the way, Errol, the moderate in the primary race, Daniel Hernandez, he's the former aide for Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, came in third place. So if you're comparing progressives and moderates in this race, progressives did well. But again, it's over 100 days until the upcoming elections in November, and more than 400 until the midterms.
And you know, you mentioned AOC. Grijalva is the more establishment candidate, but had the endorsements of progressives like AOC and Senator Bernie Sanders. What was that crucial then for the win?
Yes, I think it was. I mean, Grijalva was viewed as the establishment candidate due to her family legacy. She ran to replace her dad, who passed away in March. In her record, and she has a long record in local government as commissioner, and before that on the student board. But she also earned those endorsements from Sanders, from AOC, is signaling her alignment with those core progressive values. And also,
You know, it's funny. Even though I went on that rant earlier today, I am probably at this point in my career to the left of both Bernie Sanders and AOC, and probably have been the entire time of my career. And that's insane because Bernie Sanders is literally the radical leftist in America. And I am to the left of him on many, many social and domestic issues. It's kind of sad, actually, where we are politically as a country.
It just shows that Sanders and AOC backing Grijalva, leading progressives are now prioritizing coalition building over
that makes sense.
Purity tests, if you will, that we're seeing in the opposing party. So I think that if you're progressive and you're looking at last night's win by Grijalva, it does bode well for your causes.
Yeah, we'll keep watching.
All right, well, that's good, I guess. Nice. All right. I spent a lot of time on my soapbox today, so let's do. What did we really? Okay, here we go. This would be a good foreign policy one.
The port and the train station is the statue of Demba and Dupont. arm in arm holding an olive branch. One is Senegalese, the other is French. Together, they liberated France from German occupation during World War II. But guess which one wasn't allowed to march into Paris despite helping to liberate it? Now, with the last French military base being handed over to Senegal, it seems Dupont is walking away. Behind the barbed wired wall, a final salute. Down comes the French flag, up goes the Senegalese one.
As it should be.
A small ceremony for a big moment, the end of French military presence here.
That is
this
a great
change
day.
is necessary. We need to reinvent our partnerships in a dynamic Africa whose youth carry great hope. That requires a real transformation in how we engage with African countries and our African partners. We need to
That's
act
not what
differently.
Marceau feels
Permanent
like.
bases are no longer needed for that.
From here, the French launched colonial invasions, and after independence, the French troops stayed, and this became a hub for military cooperation. This base was the eyes and ears of France over the Eastern Atlantic. France still has soldiers in many of its former colonies, but for Senegal's new young president, who represents a new generation unburdened by colonial ties, he asked the French troops to leave, not out of hostility, but in the name of sovereignty.
Which is,
true, but this
I
comes at a
cannot
time when
say
Senegal
that enough.
needed to
That's
secure
awesome.
its territory. Because with terrorism and everything happening across the region, we were hoping, with the arrival of the new government, to still count on military partnerships with foreign forces, including France.
Senegal is looking for support to protect its borders. So when President Faye met Donald Trump, his hope was for military cooperation. Although the US president was more interested in finding another place to send illegal migrants to. The handover.
Wow. Not shocking, though, but very fucking disturbing that that is now the face of America. Hey, we're going to come to your country and not talk about trade or partnerships or anything like that. No, I want to come to your country so that we can just straight up send people that we have kidnapped off of our streets and traffic them to your country. That's America right now.
Of the base in Senegal comes at a time when President Emmanuel Macron says French troops are needed back in Europe. As one power moves out, will somebody else step in, olive branch in hand, or will Demba keep marching alone?
Well,
Nicholas
hopefully
Hawk, Al
Senegal
Jazeera,
stays,
Dakar.
you know, Senegalese this time. All right. So, yes, we do want to do the cats. I was making sure that I didn't skip them. I remember seeing that too. So what happened to it? Elmo lost his mind. That's funny. Well, I looked at the bottom. It's not at the bottom. Oh. Found it.
When it came time to take...
Found it, Mom!
Has introduced a bill to officially make bodega cats legal.
Fox 8's Kendall Green has details on the proposal, which many say is the perfect way to keep mice and rats away from the stores.
If you ask New Yorkers, bodegas feel more like bodegas with a pet cat around.
It's a cute cat. Comes outside, plays with people pet it all the time.
It's adorable. It's great to have a local bodega cat. My wife loves it. She's going to be stoked when she sees this. So, yeah.
And cats tend to get more love than the workers behind the counter.
Oh, poor cat. Look at him. It's all
mangy.
mangy.
69th and 2nd, who's featured on a Bodega Cat Instagram account. Councilmember Keith Powers also on Insta.
A bodega without a bodega cat.
So here's my question, though. I do. No, I don't. But I love animals and cats and all that fun stuff. My question, though, is why is this being voted on? Bodega, like, how was it illegal to have pets at the store that you yourself own? Because that would be news to me, because I have seen people. So it was actually illegal. Because I have literally seen, like, dogs and other animals go to places like that. I mean, they say pet friendly on them, but like, it's okay. I guess it was actually illegal. Apparently not heavily enforced. I see. And I'm surprised we didn't see more articles or videos of people getting arrested brutally for having cats in the fucking bodega.
You gotta be kidding me.
Bodega cats are an iconic part of our city. Everybody knows them, loves them, but yet most people don't know, they're not technically legal.
Powers, running for Manhattan Borough President, isn't catting around with the idea of making them legal. He's introduced his new bill that will also establish a free vaccination program for cats that are registered to bodegas, sharing more about the roles they play inside.
Keeping it clean, getting vermin out of the way, so they actually play a role within the bodega, but we want to make sure they're legal, they're vaccinated, they have all the resources they need to stay healthy, and that they can be...
Don't get me wrong. I love cats. I really do. I seeing them jump around and pounce. Half of my reels that I get in my feed are cat videos, or dog videos, right? It's literally the animals going like this. I love it, right? But this is the shit that they're wasting their time on when ICE is literally going neighborhood by neighborhood and terrorizing Latino communities. When the NYPD is still acting like a lawless police force. When they just dealt with a fucking flood, they're going to legalize cat bodegas and then ensure that cats that are specifically cat bodega cats get vaccines. If you can do it for one cadre, one class of demographic, you can do it for all of them. But the Democrats can't. Yes, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm saying, there are so many bigger fish to fry right now. And why are they choosing to do this now and not 20 years ago? Maybe I'm a little bit too jaded right now about the Democrats. To me, this is just boosting the morale. Okay. Sure. Just like, talking about illegals and being racist boosts the morale of conservatives. All right. Fine. It's a morale booster.
Now, shoppers come to this bodega all the time to pick from their variety of flowers here, but when we asked them if they had to choose between the cat and the flowers, well, take a listen to the answer.
Cat. Cat all day.
What are your most favorite reactions you've gotten out of this so far? What did somebody say?
I think somebody just asked me when I'm running for mayor based on this bill. Somebody on Instagram just asked me when I'm running for mayor. No plans at this moment.
Not this time?
Not this time.
Kendall Green, Fox 5 News.
Evidence that our universe might exist inside a black hole.
Oh, now this is a neat story. So I'm a huge science nerd, but that's not what this channel's about, for one. And for two, I'm not about to try and claim any sort of intellect about science in an academic or intellectual or even funny way. I just find it neat. And this is actually on par with conspiracy theory. Is our universe inside a black hole? Are we in fact a black hole of some other mega universe or some other mega galaxy or something or another, right? Which there has been credible scientific theory to suggest that we are in fact in a black hole, and that would explain many of the things that are happening that we can't otherwise explain. Now, I have my problems with Neil deGrasse Tyson. First of all, he's a fucking Debbie Downer. He's a huge fucking Debbie Downer. Oh, Friday the 13th isn't so rare. It would be just as rare as Thursday the 12th or Saturday the 14th. Fuck you. Quit ruining our fucking fun. Same thing with the Zodiac and now I can't think of it. Astrology. Dude, let people just live a fucking bit, all right? Just live a little. Just fucking let it be. So anyway.
That. Well, let's back up for a moment, okay? And put some base information on the table. A black hole is a region of space and time where the strength of gravity is so high that light has no path to get out of the object. All paths through space-time curve back in on itself. Normally we think of a hole as a hole in the floor, and you fall through, come out the other side. Except it's a three-dimensional hole. You can fall in any direction. That edge, beyond which there's no return, we call the event horizon. It's a horizon. The universe has a horizon too. It is a a distance beyond which no information can reach us because the universe isn't old enough for light from anything beyond that horizon to have gotten here yet. By the way, the more mass is in a black hole, the bigger the black hole becomes. In fact, if you run the math on it, it's linear. So a black hole that's twice as massive as another one will be twice the diameter. 10 times as massive, the event horizon, which is our practical definition of the size of the black hole, will be 10 times as long. There's a cool exercise we do in graduate school. You can say,
cool exercise in graduate
given
school.
the mass of the universe, how big would the black hole be that contained this much mass? It's the size of our universe to our horizon. And it's like, wait a minute, could we be one giant black hole? The average density of matter contained within the size of our cosmic horizon matches right on with what you'd get for a black hole this size. That's intriguing. Maybe it's just a coincidence. What would it mean anyway for us to be inside a black hole? How would that work?
It would explain Mondays, motherfucker. It would explain why the weekends go like this, and then work just drags on needlessly. Would also explain deja vu. Because if time is not in fact linear because we're trapped in a black hole with super dense blah 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 blah, that would mean that deja vu could actually be an event that has already occurred in a time loop cycle that you're experiencing again just from previous thought or memory. It would also explain precognition. All of that pseudoscience you don't believe in, motherfucker. Because time is relative. And conscious thought, right? The brain waves are still waves that connect to the electromagnetic spectrum, which is all just waves. So if it's all cyclical, there is such thing as resonant frequency, regardless of if it's brain waves or light or something else. There is always that resonance. There's always that way to line up. And that would explain quite a few things, like how do certain anomalies keep happening? How do, is science actually discovery or is it remembering, right? That would answer quite a few things. Now, obviously, then that just begs the question, if we are a universe inside of a black hole, does that mean there are universi, in each of the other black holes? Well, obviously, we're not going to ever know that until we can actually send something into a black hole to observe it, which we are nowhere close to having that level of technology. But the implications are that if we're a black hole, then that black hole is in a different, older universe with similar properties that is itself in a black hole. So at what point does the expansion of relativity end? What is the original creation? What is the original nature? What is the all-encompassing nature? And the answer is you'll never know that either, because if there is a bound to nature, a physical bound of which this is the event horizon of the ultimate black hole, beyond that event horizon would be nothingness, which would mean that intrinsically, implicitly, that the universe isn't what is infinite, but what is beyond the universe, which we could colloquially call the void. The void is what's infinite. So when you scream into it, there is a point in time where it does just expand, because otherwise, in terms of both math, physics, and even quantum mechanics, there would have to be a definitive beginning and end somewhere at some point. Otherwise, infinity cannot physically exist. We cannot comprehend, like, infinity is a true fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional, higher dimensional. That's why I'm saying it. This isn't a science channel. I'm not smart enough to talk about on this subject. What I am saying is this theory makes infinitely more sense than at first there was nothing, electrons collided, and then the Big Bang happened. It makes infinitely more sense that the black hole theory, that explosion of matter was from a collapsing star, and that those internal machinations created more mass and more things, but on a significantly more finite scale. But within that black hole you would get the its own physics back, because it won't be able to escape the closer you get to the event horizon. But within it, who knows? It should be normal. So we could actually find out that black holes have the event horizon physics, which is inescapable. But then the second you pierce that, right, event horizon, us, you go through the event horizon, and then it's just another version of us, just on the other side. Or not even on the other side, it's literally the hole, the three-dimensional hole, if you will, that can continuously expand because it's constantly gaining mass and matter, right? But internally, it still has the same principles as space itself. So anyway, I went on another tangent, I'm sorry. It's pirate software traits trapped in a grown woman's body. No, that's fair, but that's probably the tism. How did you become so unserious? Honestly, I'm only this unserious on stream. Behind closed doors, I'm actually pretty fucking nerdy and rigid. When it comes to politics, like I'm no joke. Time repeating itself? Yes. So there's other like universal expansion theory where we're a toroid, I think it's called. So there's it's a fourth dimensional object. It's kind of like a twist, and it's solid, but it never ends, but it rotates in and on itself. And that's the other theory, that the universe is one of those things, and that's why time would repeat itself. Granted, on the cosmic scale, not in the fact like, oh, Tuesday's going to repeat every 30 years. No, we're talking like it takes 93 billion years or whatever for the cycle to go around, if you will. But if we're the black hole, then it's a whole different mechanism altogether, where it could be that, one, black holes have their own rotation, so that could be it. There's the fact that data is constantly trapped and being reflected from the event horizon, or being trapped there, right? So there's that method. And then it's the constant getting new data, and then gamma radiation with gamma bursts exporting data, and then getting other raw data from outside of it. So there's many different ways in which the time loop theory is conceivable, but again, not Tuesday repeating itself every 30 years, but like on a grand cosmic scale. Well, that's probably also the tism. What is in that hat? That hat. My hat? This hat? It's knitted. There's nothing in the hat. And as we saw, it looks like a chef hat when I don't have hair or a towel. It just, like, it doesn't look right. Ow. It just really doesn't look right unless there is something dangling here. Because this doesn't look revolutionary at all. It looks like I'm about to go make some delicious meals. Of course, if I'm cooking, it's very hit or miss if that meal is going to be delicious. It'll be edible. No, well, that's also not true. I've given myself food poisoning on multiple occasions. Don't ever buy fish on sale. So, that's my
work. Well, it turns out if you run the mathematics of Einstein's general theory of relativity into a black hole, it turns out a whole new space-time opens up on the other side. And you look behind you and the entire future history of the universe unfolds relative to your time frame. And so the universe you came from basically ends, and a whole new universe opens up in front of you.
Whoa, folks! Called it, didn't I? I just went on like probably a 5-minute rant just now discussing the time warp and black hole theory. And I said I don't have the credible background knowledge of science to discuss it in context.
Are we that universe that opened up in front of us? Okay, these are mind-bending questions. Well, There's recent research published that suggests that the contents of our universe has sort of a net rotation to it.
Praise me, peons! What can't he do? Politics, revolution, mildly lifting heavy things. And now, science.
Well, that'd be kind of weird. So in the study, it observed several hundred galaxies from the best observing directions you can come up with, which is above and below the plane
Ban
of our
apolitical.
Milky Way. And
He
it
knows too
noticed
much.
a net rotation of spiral galaxies in one direction versus the other. So if you look at spiral galaxies, if half of them sort of rotate like that and the other half rotate the opposite way, then they kind of cancel. But if most of them are rotating in the same sense, in the same direction, then that could hint that there's a net angular momentum of the entire universe. So what did they find? That 2/3 of the spiral galaxies measured rotated in the opposite direction as the Milky Way. So 2/3 is not 100%, but it's certainly more than half. We expect this to just be random. Normally in our lives, we think of something that rotates because some other force set it into motion to do so. And we look in the universe and everything is rotating, and then you ask, what force is making that happen? Turns out, all of our evidence suggests that when you make a galaxy or a star system or a star or a planet, there's some gas cloud that started it. If the gas cloud has any motion at all, the tiniest amount, as it collapses, its rotation will speed up. The gas cloud that was large, moving just a little, will move much faster as it gets smaller. And you know this already when you see ice skaters. When an ice skater spins and they want to spin faster, they start with their arms outstretched. And they have a certain rotation speed by virtue of that. As they bring their arms in, this is a phenomenon of physics called the conservation of angular momentum. If you start out large, slowly rotating, and now you're half the size, you're going to be rotating twice as fast. If you want 1/10 the size, you're going to be rotating 10 times as fast. Is that right?
Not gonna lie, I didn't know that. I mean, I've heard of that, the angular conservation of motion. I just didn't know that was the reason why. When I had to do electronic principles and like basic physics to do my job in the military, it was mostly in that regard, right? Torque, motion, cosine error, pressure, electricity, how it works, why it works, on a basic level, mind you. But that's pretty cool. I didn't even pre-watch it. Yeah, see, don't trust me. I'm a politician. Oh, yeah, I did. Isn't it on the website? Well, it's not on the website specifically. I think it's hidden. Yeah, I guess not. Anyway, I sent you the Google Doc. Yeah, but see, it goes back to the same vein concept of if the universe is finite, which there's growing evidence that it is, then we are a part of something that's larger, and so on and so on and so on, infinitesimally large. So at what point do we find the thing, the OG thing, that encompasses all of space, all of nature, all of matter, right? Because at that point, you're still going to have an event horizon, a limit at that point. There will be a limit somewhere. It might be, I doubt it's the universe, right? Because it's implied that if we're just a black hole, then we're a black hole and a part of a much bigger thing. Or we are a black hole with an event horizon, and that event horizon is the void. Either which way, it goes from finite to infinite, and beyond that finite has to be void. But then that means in terms of nature, and this is where like we can't fathom void. Like we can't fathom true infinitesimal distances. If the universe at some degree of separation is finite, it is encapsulated, and beyond that is simply nothingness, true empty vacuum, then how in the fuck did we form in the first place? Right? And that's where the concepts of God and creation come into play, right? But in my theory of everything, it goes that way to the void. The void is what encompasses all, and it's something that we cannot conceive because we are trapped in our three-dimensional mindset, but it's also infinitesimally small down to nothingness, which is unironically the same thing. Hence the theory of everything. You know the funniest thing going on with Team Red? Hey, bringing it back to politics. Good on you, Pop. Is that some of them are dumping on even Captain Hairplugs as someone who's looking for attention because he's making sarcastic remarks about Epstein. I've seen them saying a word about getting the pedo monsters. They're even trying to split hairs saying Red Overlord never campaigned on it. No, there's definitely copium going on. Physics is hunting me in the summer vacation. It sure fucking is, buddy. Oh, is that music still playing? Whoops. It needs to be playing so we don't lose audio when I'm doing my long rants, but it doesn't need to be loud enough that you can actually hear it. Sorry about that. He was asked directly if he would release the Epstein files. He said he'd released most of it. Also, surrogates were campaigning on it. Exactly. They brought in Grok to say, see, Grok said he didn't campaign on it. Well, Grok has just been changed to Mecha Hitler, too, so let's...
MV squared over R. Right? This is why everything in the universe has some kind of rotation. Because it's essentially impossible for any large gas cloud to not have motions within it to begin with. Often they're thermal motions. There's turbulence within the cloud before it sort of collapses to become something solid. Because of the turbulence within the clouds, there's no reason to think.
So, to be a little bit more clear on why... So, to be clear a little bit, more clear on what he's talking about with turbulence and motion, gases are energetic by their very definition. Until they reach absolute zero, that's when they stop motion. Except, apparently, we've actually gotten below absolute zero somehow at the quantum scale, and then... crazy shit started happening on the quantum level. I can't even begin to discuss about it because I don't know enough about it to even attempt to. But we have achieved lower than absolute zero temperatures and at the quantum level, and then it caused essentially an inverse where the same, and I believe it was the same activities that could be measured with regular motion, but with negative and ever increasing temperatures that way. But negative. Anyway, gases are energetic. They move around. So you have to consider that these gas clouds, when we say a gas cloud, we mean like literally gas. Air is a gas. What we're breathing is a gas. But although it's invisible and although it is taking up this space, right, it's still comprised of molecules and atoms. Right? There are hydrogen atoms and nitrogen atoms floating around, and then there's molecules that comprise the actual air that we breathe. That, in space, although it's infinitely colder than in the Oval Office, it is still warm enough for these gas particles to be energetic and thus moving around. Now, just like any other system, gas or otherwise, it does get the energy to move in a wave, I guess, in unison, in concert. Like that is still a natural thing that happens even in a vacuum. It still will follow some pathway. And that is what they're talking about with the turbulence. Now, I don't know if I made that simpler or more complicated, but just wanted to throw that in there.
They would align with each other. They're each independent entities so that when they collapse and the final product is spinning, there's no reason to think that the spin of this object is going to match up with the spin of an object over here. we have every reason to presume that there's no net spin direction of the universe or objects within it. So if we find and confirm that there is, we got to go back and ask, how could you get that, given our expectations of randomness? Well, that was linked to the idea that we might be in a black hole. Here's why.
That also adds credibility to the we are in a simulation. So Matrix theory. What we have discovered recently, so not when I was in high school, because I only learned about the electron, the proton, and the neutron. Kids nowadays are learning about the bosons, the tachyons, the other ozons. Like, I don't even know all the names of the principal particles that make up the atomic, subatomic particles, right? So they're learning about all that. But what they're also learning about is the fact that once you break those down, it's basically matrix grids of energy. And energy in like the concept of energy as a wave, as a frequency. And obviously they teach it in the way, oh, it's just little light beams, but it's not. It's the little frequencies exist as an actual frequency, which is again something very difficult to conceptualize. Light is something that you can consider as a beam, right? So that kind of makes sense. All right, so there's a point and a point here, and then there's multiple points working together, and they somehow coalesce to form a boson. And then several bosons combine to create, I think, a proton. I don't know. I genuinely, I'd have to Google that right now. My point is, it starts with energy. And the basic way we can understand energy is light. And those matrices form the different subatomic particles, which form the subatomic, which create the atomic particles, which then form molecules. So that's the realm of which they're talking about here. Would I rather be a big commentator or a mayor? A mayor, 100%, because I would rather make a positive impact in my community or for a population than just speak about stuff. Speaking about stuff is the most useless fucking thing on the planet. Doing something about the stuff you're talking about is what's needed and necessary. Hot girls for Ronan. Oh my goodness. You asked that to Anna.
There's only two kinds of information you can obtain that are preserved inside that black hole. The mass, the total mass, and the angular momentum. Because anything falling in, if it falls in with a swirl, toilet bowl style, that angular momentum continues into the black hole itself. If there's a net angular momentum of the universe, where did it come from? It's not obvious that would come from a Big Bang, which is an explosion in all directions statistically evenly. What could it be? Could we be a black hole with a net angular momentum of stuff that spiraled into us? So that's where the black hole connects back to whether the universe is rotating. So I look forward to seeing whether this result is confirmed or falsified. It's an intriguing result, and the number of galaxies was not very large, just a few hundred, and there are billions of galaxies out there. So I'll reserve judgment until I see what others publish on this subject. Anyhow, that was a what's up with that on whether.
All right, I have a new video idea. Anna, email me this. What's up with that? But political series where we talk about issues. What's up with that? Universal health care. What's up with that? Universal education. What's up with that? Revolution, comrades. So, write that shit down and send it to me before I forget. The new head of the FDA said bring back e-cigarettes, saying the benefits outweigh the risks. Well, considering e-cigarettes and vapes turn your lungs into Swiss cheese, and there is no reversing that. At least you can heal over time with the tar that collects. No, she doesn't. She has actually yelled at me quite a few times. And said no. Anna is pretty on point and on board with a lot of the things I say, but I think it's also because she either agrees with them or she has thought of it herself and just doesn't want to hurt my fragile male ego by bringing it to my attention first. But there have been times where we had a conversation and then a few months later something comes up and I'm like, oh yeah, this would be a fantastic idea. And she's like, yeah, I know, because we had the conversation 3 months ago and this is what I said about it. I'm like, oh, well, you had a great idea. We should write it down this time. All right. What do we got? Oh, of course, the ceasefire deal. Yeah, honestly, I am not.
Moscow says it's in
I'm
no
not an alpha
hurry to
male.
officially.
I don't have that kind of ego. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But then show me how I'm correct. Don't just be an elitist piece of shit about it. Did you all talk about handing over Medicaid personal info? Yes, that was actually, if not the first thing, it was one of the first things we went over today.
Respond to Trump's threats against Russia, but it rejects ultimatums. According to officials, it will take time to analyze all the consequences of Trump's tariffs on Russia's trading partners and of the US supplying weapons to Ukraine.
We really want to know what motivates the President of the United States. It is clear that he is under enormous pressure from the European Union and the current leadership of NATO.
The Kremlin says weapons have been delivered to Ukraine for years, so it will be able to handle that. But things may change if the US lifts restrictions on using supersonic long-range missiles to their full range. That would allow them to reach military bases, airfields and supply depots deeper inside Russia. Analysts say Presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump have maneuvered each other into a very difficult...
What is with these ties? And again, Putin is wearing a more red tie and Trump is wearing a pink tie. So what does that signify? What? Ugh.
Difficult position. But Moscow realizes that Trump won't benefit from introducing extra tariffs on Russia's trading partners.
If he begins to, say, slap tariffs on India, that's against American interest, because America right now is wooing India to become an ally against China. And even with China, more tariffs will mean that there's going to be, instead of a compromise that they're working out with Beijing, there's going to be a new war.
Still, sanctions and tariffs can be more frustrating for Russia, together with oil prices below $60 per barrel, as the country will struggle to finance the war and manage the economy in the long run. Right now, the peace process seems to be frozen, and both sides seem intent on continuing to pursue a military solution to the conflict in the coming 50 days or so and throw everything they have to try to achieve an advantage. They appear to hope that will get them out of...
Which, what have I been saying this entire time? We have evolved past military intervention because you can't win a military conflict in modern times because the technology is too great and there are too many hands involved now. Every conflict becomes a world war because nobody wants to see the violence and the bloodshed. But then because they don't want to see the violence or the bloodshed, they all get drug into it. Except if you're Israel, then I guess you get a free pass to do whatever the fuck you want. But Russia trying to escalate with Ukraine and Ukraine not backing down, this is, again, there isn't a power involved in this that has the influence, the chutzpah, the je ne sais quoi, to really insert itself. The only two countries that could is China and America. But America is not trustworthy. They don't have any credibility anymore. China does, but they have never once initiated any sort of military conflict. And why should they? They are dominating the global market economically. They can literally buy and sell countries for fun. And they are for fun. And people aren't realizing this. Like, yes, in that sense, China is the greatest threat. But in the same exact way that Russia and America are a threat through military abuse of power, China is just going to bankrupt and own everything, right? Bankrupt everybody else and then own it, right? Russia and America, apparently we want to just bomb everything to hell in a handbasket. Well, that doesn't do anything. That doesn't stimulate anything. That destroys, forces it to be rebuilt, and then has a modicum of control over it. But if you're an idiot that doesn't even know how to manage what you already fucking have, more isn't going to be better. It's going to be worse, as we have seen. So, speaking of Europe.
Introducing Kay Hovnanian's Four Seasons at Addison.
Mertz's first acts as Chancellor was to visit the Ukrainian president with the British Prime Minister and the French president, providing a signal of collective commitment to Kiev, but also of Mertz's wish to offer leadership in Europe. Already, he's
the German towers over everybody. That's
previous
wild.
Financial prudence and deliver vast investment in rearmament. Merz and Starmer are expected to sign a defense cooperation treaty during his visit. And the sorts of sums now allocated to defense...
You're not going to like this answer, apolitical, because it's a very apolitical answer. What's on my mind right now is I am very hungry, and I already went on break once to get water, but now I need real food because I'm getting a little nauseous from eating snack food, and I need real, like, actual food in my stomach.
Suggest Merz means it when he says the German army should be Europe's largest. His British and French counterparts seem happy with this. One analyst says it's because they're...
Of course, now the number one thing on my mind is, like, are we serious right now? On principle, do I give a shit if Germany has a large army? No. Given the context? Yeah, that's a fucking problem. Let's just make Germany great again, the greatest country to have ever country in Europe, while Russia aggresses and Poland is looking pretty fucking tasty. Let's see. Well, that's okay. So, Pop, the reason why that happens is because police are drunk on their own power, and we live in a police state where you can be criminalized for anything. Once it turns into the secret police, it gets even worse. And you can be put to death or sent to labor camps for any little thing. And to your point, apolitical, I am actually 79% German.
Glad to see a chancellor who wants to engage with them.
Keir Starmer and Friedrich Merz are maybe the two constant pillars as stable as you could see any politician in the political systems of various countries in Europe.
The devil.
So therefore, yeah, I think they're building kind of a very powerful couple. But of course, Merz is somehow the more stronger one because he's representing the leadership of the European Union.
At a recent conference in Rome, Merz used that unofficial representative role to reach out to Russia.
Meine liebe Geen. I think you misspelled something.
The United States.
I have two messages. The one goes to Moscow and to President Putin. The message is quite simple. We will not give up. And dear friends, my second message goes to Washington, D.C. and to President Donald Trump. Stay with us and stay with the Europeans. We are on the same page.
But on the topic of President Trump's trade tariffs, they are not even on the same chapter, let alone the same page. Merz says he wants a negotiated solution, but that the EU is willing to respond to what he calls excessively high tariffs, because he knows Germany would suffer considerably from them. No such danger for the UK, which by dint of Brexit has been able to negotiate its own deal with the US, allowing Keir Starmer to build a kind of rapport with the US president.
But Thursday is about the rapport between the German Chancellor and the British Prime Minister. Broadly speaking, both men share views on Ukraine and the...
That would be mein Gott. It would be meine liebe Gott oder meine liebe Gehirn or Seele. There's, yeah, let's see. Mein liebe Gehen. Yeah, it's usually mein lieber Gott. That's what I've always heard it as. Or Gottes Willen. That's another one. God wills it. Or as God wills is another way to translate it. All of which is to say,
role of NATO.
The Germans do a lot of like very, very religious sayings, or it's just all just really ridiculous. Well, I probably know more German than you. You said you're Dutch. You shouldn't know more German than me.
In Europe, meaning their meeting may well be a meeting of minds. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera.
So, I guess what we can get out of this is that Germany is becoming great again, the UK is becoming great again, and they're trying to negotiate with a fucking toddler who just also happens to be our president. That's fair. My mom doesn't speak as much German at home as I would like her to, because now I sound like an American when I speak German, and it frustrates the hell out of me. In a world...
His role as an engine of globalization is on display at this International Supply Chain Expo in Beijing. 650
There's a Walmart in Beijing? What the fuck?
From more than 70 countries are here, showcasing their goods and vision for the future. Many have been caught in the firing line of the trade war between the United States and China, including US chipmaker NVIDIA. But CEO Jensen Huang praised collaboration.
I'm a gringo Alaman.
And China's innovators in a speech at the start of the event.
The heroes of China's super fast innovation are your researchers, developers, and entrepreneurs. More than 1.5 million developers in China build on NVIDIA today to bring their innovations to life.
The Trump administration reversed a ban on the sale of NVIDIA's H20 AI chips to China.
So, okay, that's adorable, right? Let your little toddler ride on the cute little mecha dog. Okay. Except the fucking military is using this shit in the Middle East as we speak, and they are testing it out. There have been actual confirmed tests of these dogs being used in combat and against activists. And then they have the fucking robots. Okay, so these robots are actually fucking real. I thought a lot of these videos that I was seeing about the robots were AI bullshit. Evidently fucking not. Great. So remember when I said the reason why we can win any revolution is because we outnumber them 100 to 1 or 1,000,000 to 1 or quite a bit to 1, because the 813 are 813 billionaires. And then if you actually count the millionaires and multimillionaires, you get to like several 100,000. Well, we still outnumber them by several 100 million, right? If they can start building a robot fucking army, that goes out the window and our days become numbered. So this is a huge, huge, scary fucking problem.
During trade negotiations on rare earth minerals, the semiconductors are less advanced than others made by the firm.
We do.
And are custom made for the Chinese market. Washington says its controls on chips prevent them being used by China's military. Beijing says they're designed to disadvantage Chinese companies.
Such practices disrupt the stability of global supply chains and are not in the interest of any party.
The way artificial intelligence is transforming business is a central theme here.
I shit you not. I thought every single video that they ever shared of this was fake. I thought it was fake. I was so paranoid about the fake videos and robots. I guess my brain just said, nope, it must all be fake, because the alternative is we fucking built Terminators. We didn't. China did. But, okay, so instead of, I'll be back, it'll be fucking Bruce Lee. I don't know. I know he's Chinese, or technically from Hong Kong, but you get where I'm going with this. Christ!
The Chinese government is betting on AI as a way to upgrade its economy and move away from manufacturing cheap goods.
Chinese government is also the only government in this world that has pushed AI applications so hard. And if you look at the European government, any country you look at, or the American government.
But see, America is trying to do it for consumerism and to completely steal everyone's intellectual property and also dumb down the community, right? If you have a dumb population, you can do whatever the fuck you want. China's actually trying to, invent the future, but they're scaring the shit out of me. They have robot. How many fucking movies exist? iRobot, Terminator, the movie with Danger Will Robinson. There's like the one from Pixar with Eve. Like there's WALL-E, right? There are so many movies where robots are either the last thing standing or terrorizing humanity. And China was like, you know what? That would be banging if we created one of those.
They are so afraid of AI displacement of the current workforce, so they're not really pushing that at all, and in many cases, going against it.
Chinese officials say U.S. trade restrictions placed on Chinese companies
both of you are absolutely correct.
More competitive.
No matter where the pressure is from, I think the growth of enterprise and the industry is through innovation.
Through this expo, Beijing is sending the message that China is the anchor of global supply chains. And unlike the Trump administration says, it is not replaceable.
Many of the companies taking part seem to agree. But while relations between the two superpowers remains tense, the future of global trade is growing more uncertain. Katrina Yu, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Well, that was a bit disturbing. Just a tad. Oh.
There's a new...
okay, fun fact. Syria got attacked on the same day that Netanyahu was supposed to go to trial in his own country for corruption. With that in mind...
Freshly cracked eggs.
In the past few seconds, Israeli airstrikes have destroyed Syria's Ministry of Defense. They came in one after another. Israel targeted Syria's defense ministry in the heart of the Syrian capital. Damascus shook. There were also strikes close to the presidential palace. Israel has drawn a line in what began as a local conflict. It says strikes like these on Syrian government forces will only escalate if they don't withdraw from the south of the country. It's not the first time Israel has sent such a direct message to Syria's new authorities following violence in southern Syria. In May, Israel carried out an airstrike close to the presidential palace in Damascus. Then, like now, the Israeli leadership was warning that it would enforce a demilitarized zone in southwestern Syria along its border. For the first time since the fall of the Assad regime, forces belonging to President Ahmad Shara's government have entered the southern city of Sueda. This region is home to the minority Druze community. The state initially intervened to end an armed clash between the Druze and Sunni Bedouin tribes, but faced resistance from some Druze factions. After days of fighting, the government managed to push them out of the city, at least for now. And unlike previous negotiated settlements to end violence, this time the state will maintain a presence there.
I don't think that pulling out from Sueda city, pulling out from Al-Mazra'ah, from the western part of Al-Sueda is not an option right now because it will backfire on them. It's something will, let's say, put them in a weak spot. And they cannot. There is no luxury to go back to a weak spot. There is no luxury to go back to the initial term of the negotiation.
A similar deal that would involve government troops withdrawing would mean a failure in efforts by the new authorities to unite a fractured nation and extend its authority across Syria. But staying could open a much bigger conflict with Israel that has promised more strikes if, in the words of Israel's defense minister Israel Katz, the message wasn't received. Zena Khudr, Al Jazeera, Damascus.
Jesus H. Christ. So Israel's involved because the Druze are Israeli... I don't even know if they're settlers, but they are Israeli living in Syria, and that's what they call themselves there. I don't know if there's more to it than that. There probably is, but that's that. But yeah, so Israel is attacking Syria, attacking into the heart of the city, attacking the equivalent of the Pentagon, and somehow Israel's the victim still. And those were actual bodies of civilians just lying in the streets, just murdered. Collateral damage in Israeli aggression. And then they attacked the Syrian government, which is a U.S. ally. And what has the U.S. said? Fuck all. What is the U.S. going to do? Nothing. Because, again, the only ally that matters is Israel, according to the West. And I don't understand that. It's not what's happening in Palestine, but it's still pretty bleak and disturbing. The news is always the same, more bad things happening in Israel and America. No, I mean, that is true. I did not follow the whole Syria thing. And that's the thing. Assad was the terrorist. Assad was the big, bad man, right? But now an actual terrorist is in charge of Syria. The man who is currently in charge of Syria was on the terrorist watch list of the United States of America and was sanctioned by the United States of America up until the exact moment that he became the leader of Syria. So, Israel just goes around bombing the whole Middle East, and they are the victims, right? And nobody does anything about it, even though we absolutely could. We absolutely could just stop sending them bombs, and that would be the end of it. So, like I said, we do these Recap Thursdays, partially because I want to start getting more into these fun ones, but also because the real world happens as well. And speaking of, The Hague.
In Bogota call it the most ambitious multilateral action since the start of the war in Gaza.
Actually, we watched that video yesterday. So, if you don't remember, there's 20 countries meeting at the Hague group in Bogota to discuss doing actual accountability to Israel.
Syria's President Ahmed al-Sharaa says Israel is trying to divide Syria and has vowed never to allow that to happen. In a televised address, he singled out Druze minorities, stating that protecting their rights is his government's priority. Sharaa's speech came after a day of intense Israeli bombing. Well, this was the scene from Katana a few hours ago, showing the latest Israeli strikes. Syria's foreign ministry has condemned what it says is Israel's aggression against civilian facilities. There's been international condemnation as well. The six-member Gulf Cooperation Council, which includes Saudi Arabia and Qatar, says Israeli attacks are a flagrant violation of Syria's sovereignty and a breach of international law.
Israel is using all means to sow discord and conflict, disregarding the fact that Syrians, throughout their long history, have rejected all forms of separation and division. Possessing great power does not necessarily guarantee victory.
Well, and that's the thing, right? The entire Middle East is condemning Israel, but Europe won't. The United Nations is condemning Israel, but America won't. So it's not like Israel is just getting away with it scot-free and nobody knows what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening, but nobody is lifting a finger to stop it. So I don't get it. I really don't get it. I am unable to understand this whatsoever.
And maybe the lives of, I don't know, Palestinians in Gaza right now.
What do you want? What can this 500 people collectively clap our hands and make happen for you?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm pretty, you know what, like out of everyone in the world, I'm so happy. We should be putting our energy towards something that actually matters.
What could be more important than that right now?
Yeah, maybe the lives of, I don't know, Palestinians in Gaza right now. Maybe that's where we put our hearts and our energy.
So, good for him for saying that, but this is the point that I was making a couple days or weeks ago about how activism is pointless if you don't actually have a call to action, right? If you go to your protest and you have your little sign, right? This is HVAC. But if that's your sign and you go there with your little sign and that's all you do, and then, of course, not disrupt traffic or daily business or anything like that, then you've effectively done nothing other than waste your time and maybe inconvenience a few people. If you're not protesting to inconvenience everyone as a showcase as to like, hey, we're all struggling and you struggling with us while we're doing this is intentional so that you see that this is an issue that you should care about instead of trying to get to work to perpetuate the issue, right? The second thing you need to do is make a fucking demand. Or give people something to do. Hey, our thoughts and our energy to free Palestine. Yes. How, Andrew Garfield? How can we give our energy and prayers and thoughts to Palestine? Well, the answer would be to harass your federal government. In England, it's parliament. I think in Germany, it's also parliament. And in the United States of America, it's Congress. I think in every other country, it's actually parliament. And it's only America that calls it Congress. But it's still the same fucking thing. Contact your elected officials horrendously, just out of spite. And if that's not working, there's always the boycotts. There's always the click-clack option. My point is, if you're going to say something like that, yes, you're going to get claps. Oh, yeah, free Palestine. But if you're not going to tell people like, hey, this is where you should go, freepalestine.org or whatever, then you're wasting everybody's time. I think slowly turning up the intensity of the protests based on their actions would be good. Okay, and I answered that next question, so that's good. We just had to be different. General strike. Exactly. General strike. There's just, I just see a lot of empty gestures to gain instant sympathy. I've been talking about Free Palestine for over a year and a half now. Since October 7th. I'm sorry. I've been talking about Free Palestine since October 7th. And I've also been talking about, like, demand an end. Talk to your senators. Talk to your congressmen. If you're going to protest, those are the demands you need to make. Don't BDS movement, right? Don't support Israel. Don't support anything that they do. Or any of the companies that pledge support. I've been giving you actionable things for almost 2 years. Goodness. Right, they're not going to stop if we ask nice, which is why protesting needs to be aggressive. Peaceful, but nice doesn't, nice isn't, hold on. Peaceful isn't necessarily nice, is what I meant. Got my words confused. I pulled a Levitt. It's rare for someone to say that. True, but I'm not going to give somebody accolades for doing what they should be doing. Like, everybody with a platform should be saying Free Palestine. And if that's all they choose to do with it, that's one thing. But use it at least. And not nearly enough people with a platform is the issue. A live-action Captain Planet series is in the works at Netflix. Peter Pan Complex. Leo DiCaprio is producing it. Makes me wonder if he was on the Epstein list. And then the Superman movie, which is also an expose against Israel's genocide of Palestine. Without saying it's an expose of Israel's genocide against Palestine.
This new Superman film is making waves online, and not just for its action. Social media users are seeing parallels between the plot and Israel's ongoing war on Gaza. In James Gunn's reboot, a US-backed nation invades a weaker neighbor, sparking comparisons to Gaza, especially with the scenes of civilians and children under attack. Here's how people are reacting online.
Okay, so anybody who watched Superman will see that there's a pretty clear parallel to Palestine in there. Specifically, there's a character who's very obviously supposed to be Netanyahu, and he's a bad guy. The film was shot in 2024. It was absolutely an allusion to Palestine. Even the map looks like Gaza. And in the background in one of the shots, I don't have a screenshot of this, you could see like the Palestinian colors on a flag.
Superman fights Israel in the new movie. Okay, not exactly right. I mean, they do use fake names, but it's strongly implied based on like how the countries are set up, right? That one is supposed to be Israel and the other one is supposed to be Palestine, right?
All week, people on Twitter have been saying it's explicitly anti-Israel, explicitly anti-imperialist. And I went into watching the film not really expecting too much, like maybe like a pro-America propaganda film, as most superhero films have been. Without a doubt, that is genuinely the most pro-Palestine I have seen a mainstream film ever be.
Now, see, that is using your platform to send a message. Now, right? You can protest, you can call your senator, you can do all the other fun stuff. Now, if the only thing you do is educate, that is still valid. And that's what this movie is doing. And it is just breaking all sorts of records, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. That is good. That is good work. We need that. But we need a lot of it. One isn't going to be enough. We're going to need a lot of it. So I will give genuine kudos to the Superman movie and James Gunn. James Gunn said it wasn't about that because he wrote it before October 23. The conflict was happening before then, exactly. It's been happening since Nakba. And like you said, the shape is the same. Now, granted, I haven't watched it myself, but I'm just as inclined to watch this as I was when Barbie became hugely controversial. I went to watch the Barbie movie because of the controversy, and I was like, wow, this is actually a good movie. And I quite thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, let's look at our Patriots.
We have new details today on the suspect.
Okay, they are Patriots. I will always say that they are Patriots, but I will immediately follow it up with saying that we're incredibly stupid. Like, you don't storm a detention center with 10 people.
Involved in the recent shooting at a Texas immigration detention center. One local police officer was injured in the July 4th attack. Homeland Security correspondent Nicole Skanga has those details. Nicole.
A permission structure. You don't need a permission structure.
Have been arrested on attempted murder charges.
Unless you consider the Geneva Convention's permission, because that would be the permission structure. The right to sovereignty, self-governance, and to not be genocided. That's literally the Geneva Conventions.
A group of alleged attackers in black military-style clothing, wearing masks, opened fire outside of a Texas immigration center. It's what police are calling a planned ambush. This all began when a group of suspects...
Like, I don't want to be judgmental. I really don't want to be judgmental. But these folks look like they could have went to my school, which is in rural BFE, Ohio, from the trailer park, from whatever part of Ohio, got together and were like, we're going to fucking do some crazy shit together. I think these 10 friends had too many bonfires, too many bong rips, too many beers over too long of a time. Like, we could just all buy guns. We could actually be about it. And then went and fucking did it. They did it. They went and did it. Kudos to them for standing their ground and exercising their Second Amendment. But these are not the... I can just tell. Maybe Maricela Rueda and Elizabeth Soto. Those two women are probably the only ones that were ready for it. Nathan was probably about to snap. Enos looks like he could have been a criminal to begin with. Seth, Autumn, Zach, Joy, Megan, and Savannah look like they just came along for the ride. But Elizabeth and Maricela, they look like they were the ringleaders. They're like, no, we're about this life. We're going to fucking get it. And then they were egging all each other on. I'm doing the left separation. Damn it, I'm part of the problem. Hey, it's the problem. It's me. Oh, shit, I just heard Taylor Swift's jet park in my fucking driveway. I'm about to get copyright struck.
Suspects shooting fireworks at the ICE detention facility Friday night, 10 minutes later after the group gathered.
All joking aside, though, these are not your former Marines or your former Special Forces folks getting together to do something. These are genuine civilians who have had enough with the injustice and the cruelty of our country. And we shouldn't judge them for that. I will say, as someone who was in the military, who did get combat training, that you don't just attack a secure facility with 9 of your friends and no actual training. You will die. I'm shocked you didn't die. I am actually shocked that these people did not get massacred. But then again, detention facilities usually don't keep live weapons. What they usually do is have a special response team that deals with this, and they're the ones that have the live weapons. Most security personnel just have mace or tasers.
Some of the defendants began to spray graffiti on vehicles and a guard structure in that parking lot of the facility. Investigators found messages reading, "Ice Pig, free all political prisoners, resist fascism." But when an Alvarado police officer showed up, one suspect opened fire, shooting that officer in the neck. That officer was transported to the hospital, but later discharged. Another gunman across the street fired 20 to 30 rounds at unarmed correctional officers who had stepped outside the ICE detention facility. Investigators found multiple AR-style rifles at the scene, and police pulled 12 sets of body armor out of the cars of the suspects. They also recovered tactical gear, had two-way radios on them, some of the suspects.
So this is the part that gets me, though. And this is why I'm wondering, like, is this a false flag, or is this an actual kids coming together and wanting to take one off? If you had tactical body armor, like actual bulletproof vests, why wouldn't you wear it? And why wouldn't you then go and actually... like, that's the part that throws me for a loop. If they had somebody already popping off, and that was the intention, and you had the equipment to survive the attack, for some degree at any rate, why didn't this turn into a ridiculous shootout? That's the part that has gotten me on this.
The alleged attackers even had their cell phone inside a Faraday bag. That's a device used to block phone signals.
Wow. When you think about all of that and these law enforcement officials putting their lives on the line, have we seen an increase in officials being targeted in recent months?
Well, the U.S. attorney in Texas leading this prosecution called this part of an increasing trend of violence against law enforcement, and it is a part of a larger trend of police ambushes nationwide. The Fraternal Order of Police tracks those incidents annually and reports there were 61 ambush-style attacks against police last year. 2023 saw the highest number of ambushes on record, 115. The organization also reports that shootings against police have increased, ticking up 60% since 2018. But this incident in Alvarado actually marks the second targeted shooting at a Texas DHS facility in just 4 days. Dorica, yesterday, a shooter carrying a utility vest and an assault-style rifle fired dozens of rounds toward federal agents and police officers at a Border Patrol annex in McAllen, Texas, just miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. 3 officers were injured there, but all expected to make a full recovery.
Well, I'm sure they're...
See, and that's the other thing that kills me about this. And I'm going on a rant here because this is what makes me question the veracity of it. Do I think 10 armed civilians would have the capability of actually taking over a secure facility? No, not a chance in hell. Do I think 10 armed civilians with the intent to commit murder and violence against an armed facility would forget to put on their flak vest, even though they had the Faraday bag with their cell phones and this, that, and the other in it? Honestly, also no. Why would you go through all that trouble to get that gear and then not use it? Because that's the thing about, like, what usually people attribute to psychopathy. If you, psychologically speaking, dream about murdering somebody, eventually you're going to want to do it because eventually the thoughts, the images aren't enough. You have to actually do the thing. And that's how serial killers are born. That's the psychology of a murderer, as we understand it, right? But the same is true for, like, I'm going to be a programmer. I'm thinking about being a programmer. I would love being a programmer. I'm going to make a video game. And then you eventually start writing code and you realize this shit's hard. And then you start Googling it and you're like, wow, this shit is even harder now. And then you Google some more and you're like, what the fuck? How much more shit do I have to keep learning how to do this? And then you make the game part of the game and realize if you want to make an app, you have to do UI content. And that shit sucks. And then you start playing video games at work instead of programming at work. But the point is, you don't just think about it, you act on it, right? Any dream, any mission, any ambition that you have, you dream about, then you act on, right? That's the cause and effect process. So if you've been daydreaming about assaulting this ICE facility, it's like, all right, we need the Faraday bag, we need the guns, the ammo, the spray paint, the banners, and the flak vests. You wouldn't not use the stuff. Also, it's never clear, it was never discussed at any point in time on the news how and when they were captured and arrested. If there was one person with guns, that should have triggered the SRT response instantly. You should have seen people high on steroids with forearm veins coming out to here, armed to the teeth, coming after these kids. The fact that that didn't happen, and yet they were arrested, I don't understand that. Did they surrender? Did they give up? Were they like, oh shit, this is a little bit too real. I don't want to go to prison forever, even though you're going to prison forever? I don't know. I that's the part that makes me question, is it legitimate? Then you have the other guys who did the shots against the whatever. Do I think untrained civilians have the capacity to be lethal shots on their first try in a combat situation? No, I don't. But that's also kind of the point. Like, why are you trying to be a war hero if you're not physically capable of doing it? So on the one hand, I think it's well-intentioned ideology, poorly executed. On the other hand, I feel like it could be a false flag. The second thing that bothers me about this, that reporting was completely one-sided. These attackers attacked this facility and police. Police violence is on the rise, or violence against police is on the rise. Ambush-style attacks against law enforcement generally is on the rise. Okay. Why? Why is there an increase of violence and ambushes against police, especially ICE? What significant thing has occurred in the past several years that would cause people who are normally peaceful to enact violence against law enforcement who are known to use violence against civilians with impunity? What possible incidents or events could have possibly occurred that might result in more violence against police? Could it be the fact that police are being more violent against people generally? Or that they're terrorizing specific communities? Or that we're engaging in Nazi-style kidnapping and trafficking? Could it be that people are actually exercising their Second Amendment, but our country is so fucked that we are in such a deep police state that it's considered police violence instead of exercising your Second Amendment? The fact that they are not talking about that infuriates me and is evidence that we do not have a free press. Leftists cannot have guns anymore for safety reasons. Well, that's coming. Just think to low... Oh, you were actually saying all those things. But they could have at least got one of them. Honestly, I don't think they could have. Honestly, I'm not sure that I could shoot somebody dead from a given distance. I mean, if it was point blank and I missed, that's on me. But I think if you're creating an ambush, your adrenaline's racing, you're shaking, right? You're shaking and you're trying to shoot 10, 15, 20 yards away. Even with a rifle, one little shake and that bullet's going to hell in a handbasket. So I think unless you've been in a combat situation or you do live firearms training, like live ammunition gun ranges weekly or something like that, you're not exposed to the adrenaline enough to be able to control it. So no, it's not shocking that they did not kill someone. It's also in their best interest. It's also in our best interest that they did not, because that would just justify on both sides of the aisle to create the Gestapo and not put any roadblocks in it. So CBS is ending the Late Show, and many are pointing to him dumping on Skydance and CBS in that merger situation. That's interesting. I didn't know that. I know some irrational leftists that would do something like that, though. For legal purposes. Well, you're in a foreign country anyway. So for legal purposes, if they are irrational leftists that would take on their government, I don't know what the laws are in your country, but if you're going to do it, more numbers. But for legal reasons, I'm not advocating for violence. But it was a bunch of them with ARs, yeah. The Deputy Prime Minister in the UK said they're delivering on lowering the voting age to 16 and 17-year-olds. That's probably not going to help anything, though, because if adults are easily brainwashed, children are even more easily brainwashed. So all that's going to do is probably pad conservative numbers, is actually what that's going to happen. Oh, you do? Well, then we'll play that next. And I'll get off my fucking high horse. Clip clop, motherfucker. How did I miss that? Oh, dang. I scroll too fast. Well, there's 59 videos, and I can read. I'm sorry. So, oh, there it is.
Grand Canyon University offered nearly 160 democracy or a ploy to capitalize on the youth vote. The Labour government announced it would deliver
I just read
on
your
a
comment, didn't I, little Miss Smarty Pants?
Give the vote to 16 and 17-year-olds, and for some it was a welcome move.
I'm really happy about it because I've always been kind of frustrated just watching politics and not being able to do anything.
16 to 18 is quite like a maturity jump, but like
no, Trump cannot
I think
read.
a lot of people,
and apparently not many people in his administration can
very
either.
Strong opinions, and they think their opinions should be heard.
Others seem unconvinced.
We see a lot of people who sort of fall down like those pipelines into alt-right or whatever, and are very easily convinced and persuaded, and I do think that's a risk.
For the Prime Minister, it is a logical step designed to boost voter turnout.
They're old enough to go out to work, they're old enough to pay taxes, so to pay in, and I think if you pay in, you should have the opportunity to say...
You know, that's rich coming from England. Well, if you're getting taxed, you should be represented. They're like, we made that mistake once, and we're not making that mistake again.
What you want your money spent on, which way the government should go.
The traditional thinking in the UK is that younger people would be more likely to vote for Labour. But since the election last year, public support for the party has been ebbing away. And younger people are now finding themselves more attracted to other parties such as the Greens and Nigel Farage's Reform UK. Despite Labour's large majority, after a year in power, it's now plummeted in popularity. Hot on the heels of this discontent, the rise of populist politics, with Reform UK leading in the opinion polls. Its appeal to younger men poses a real threat to Labour, especially in working-class areas.
Propaganda.
But that's not the only risk. Among younger
that's
people,
what I just said.
the government's approach to the war on Gaza
Conservatism
has
isn't
also
always
cost its
fascism.
support, with the UK Green Party looking set to benefit as a left-wing alternative. But the challenge remains getting younger people to vote. Turnout among younger voters has always been comparatively low. For mainstream parties with declining support, they will have to work harder and smarter to earn their vote. Sonia Gallego, Al Jazeera, London.
Yeah, that is true, though. We need to figure out new and more imaginative ways to appeal to young generations, younger individuals, to actually vote and actually give them a reason to vote, right? Because the future is in their hands regardless. I'm 35 years old. I have half my life left in front of me, right? And I'm spending it fighting for the remaining half, okay? I'll be 39. I'll be past my halfway point. So I won't even get to enjoy the full half of the rest of my life, even if I become president. When I become president, I will become president. Anyway, so these young kids, 17, 18, whatever, all the way up to 30, honestly, don't vote. And we need to encourage people to get out there and to vote for their future and show them that it is still revolutionary and it is still activism to vote, as long as you're voting for that revolution and that activist candidate, right? If you're just going to go and vote for the one establishment candidate or the other, then you have done nothing with your vote to affect change. So if you're going to affect change and you want to affect change, you have to vote for the person that will actually bring change because they have a vested interest in it, right? But that also requires people who will be change agents to run in the first place. And the best way to do that is to primary incumbents with $80 and 50 signatures. But it is my job to find those people and then to encourage people to vote for them. So that's the mission statement, okay? Get out there, run for something, primary a motherfucker, save $80 if that's what it takes, get 50 people to sign that shit. You can go to every single county board of elections in the country, and they will give you a voter roll. You might have to dig through it a little bit, but every single one of those rolls have at a minimum party affiliation and when they voted. So if they voted Republican or Democrat, that's all you need to know. Because for your primary to gather signatures, you need Republican signatures or Democrat signatures, depending on which primary you're running in. Don't 5 of you run in the same Democratic primary. That is stupid. The 5 of you should be primarying 5 people in whatever primary. So one of you draw lots. Okay, I'll do Congress, Senate. All right, I'll do mayor, county commissioner. You know, go on. If you're just so apathetic to running as a Republican, fine. Just pick the Democratic Party and primary everyone. You don't have to change the party from within, right? I'm not talking about running for DNC chair or state party chair or even county chair. Fuck the party. Get elected and then force the party to deal with you, right? Right. So that's how that fucking works. Sure, you can still run for all the different chair positions. You can still do that. I'm not going to stop you from doing that. But again, if it's just you and 5 of your friends, you're not going to get anything. We need to collectively, hundreds upon thousands of us, need to infiltrate every party and attack every primary from every single fucking angle we can. That is how we win. You know what that is summarized as? Participation in the fucking democracy that we have. So, in Europe, there are some more normal conservatives, I guess, but a lot of the ones that are popular are fascist fucks. Please don't say bad things like that. It hurts my feelings. Well, Anna is like 5,745. I'm 35. Which is the minimum age to become president, which is why I ran last year. And if the election was in fact rigged, there is a very strong possibility when that all comes out that I can elevate myself to the only legal candidate. So that would be a really funny turn of events. But when you're doing the comedy clubs, which, okay, by the way, I might actually do that. I haven't really sat down and figured out how I would approach it, but it would basically be campaigning. I would probably bring this energy. So still talk about the issues, but be unhinged about it. I think that's what I would do, to be perfectly honest. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to come to the United States because they're going to check your social media, find out that you hate Trump, and then they're going to turn you right back. So if you're going to come to America, bring a burner phone and don't put any apps on it, because apparently that's the level of fascism we're at right now. So to wrap it up, because I genuinely need to eat. I'm really bad about that. Run for something, support those who do. Participate in the process, don't bitch about it. If you're a leftist, stop arguing with each other. And have a great weekend. See you guys Tuesday at 7, where we talk about whatever fuckery managed to unfold between then and now. Samuel Ronan, your president.